desert tortoise emerges from its burrow and lumbers off in search of food. A group of bighorn sheep effortlessly scale a rocky slope, safely away from predators such as mountain lions. Motionless, a Mojave green rattlesnake is acutely aware of its surroundings and ready to seize its next meal. The Mojave's extreme forces of nature, scorching heat and bitter cold, intense winds and lack of moisture, create conditions in which only uniquely adapted desert flora and fauna can survive. Yet despite the harsh conditions, a surprising diversity exists here. More than 300 kinds of birds, 50 mammals, 36 reptiles, and over 900 species of plants, taking on many various shapes, sizes, and colors. Fashioned out of hundreds of millions of years of slow weathering and erosion, punctuated by bursts of volcanic activity, Mojave National Preserve ranges in elevation from less than 1,000 feet to almost 8,000 feet. Here, visitors can explore a patchwork of ecosystems from 3 of the 4 major North American deserts. This unique landscape contains remote springs and seeps, high mountains, and twisting canyons, which together have created diverse microhabitats supporting a wide array of plant and animal life. Located in the southwestern corner of the United States, the Mojave Desert itself occupies more than 15 million acres in 4 states. In 1994, approximately 1.6 million acres were set aside to become Mojave National Preserve. It was established to provide opportunities for all to learn about and enjoy California's desert region. Within the preserve, visitors can experience unrivaled scenic and geologic features, diverse ecosystems, historical and cultural sites. Contained within the bounds of 3 major highways, this desolate area is known as the Lobson Triangle. While most people drive right past this secret desert garden, some, like archaeologist Dave Nichols, know that the Mojave holds treasures of human history.
The Mojave Desert is a very dry area, and it was one of the most difficult areas for any indigenous group in the United States to exist. Yet despite the harsh conditions, we've discovered signs of early human occupation in every part of the preserve.
Petroglyphs etched on the rocks throughout the region reveal evidence of a long history of human occupants who followed the natural cycles of the desert. From Mojave's earliest inhabitants to the miners and cowboys who worked here over the last 2 centuries, the many archaeological finds and historic trails connect us with our own history.
Here in the preserve, we have archaeological sites that go back 10,000 years, as well as more recent historic sites dating from the 1850s up through the mid-20th century.
Abandoned mines and historic ranches are some of the most popular destinations in the preserve. Places like Evening Star Mine, the Rock House, and the Corral at Cima allow visitors to experience the Mojave Desert of days gone by.
We want to document as many aspects of these places as possible before they weather away and disappear off the landscape. This way, future generations will be able to envision what happened here long ago.
The famous Mojave Road that bisects the preserve offers travelers a journey through that past. Traversing more than 130 miles of desert, the road evolved from trails created centuries before by tribal people as they traveled across the desert from spring to trade with coastal tribes. During the 1800s, as mining activity spread throughout the Mojave, some of these same trails became the freight and mail route from Arizona to the port near Long Beach. The road was protected by military forts that were established along the way. Ranchers, like those at the Rock Spring Land and Cattle Company, used the Mojave Road as they moved cattle around the region. When the transcontinental railroads arrived in 1883, the Mojave Road was all but abandoned, much like the once thriving mining towns left to decay in the harsh Mojave sun. Today, desert enthusiasts in four-wheel drive vehicles can explore this celebrated trail that has changed little since early pioneers traveled the same route. While many of the early travelers crossed the Mojave en route to someplace else, it has now become a destination for people like Celio and Catalina Ceballos and their children. For more than 3 generations, the Ceballos family has come to the Mojave to enjoy the natural beauty and wide open spaces.
As a kid, we used to come out on Easter usually, and my dad would bring us all out, and we'd camp out and explore and barbecue. Now, as I'm older, it's a lot of fun to bring my kids out to let them see what I experienced as I was growing up. A lot of things that they wouldn't see in the city. It just brings excitement to me to see them do that.
There are many worlds to explore within Mojave National Preserve. It is a mesmerizing study in contrasts. A starting point for many is the historic Kelso Depot Visitor Center. Built by the Union Pacific Railroad in the 1920s, freight trains still pass through this oasis in the middle of the desert. The Rings Loop Trail at Hole in the Wall beckons the more adventurous to explore Banshee Canyon and its unique volcanic rock formations. For many, climbing the rings is a lasting memory of their visit to the Mojave Desert. In stark contrast is the narrow ribbon of willows, cottonwoods, and rushes, thriving along a half-mile section of Paiute Creek, one of the few free-flowing streams in the Mojave Desert, a haven for humans and animals alike who depend on its life-giving waters. Soldiers were once stationed at Fort Paiute to protect travelers along the Mojave Road, but today all that remains are stone walls outlining cramped living quarters. Just 15 miles east of Baker, the oddly moon-like surface of cinder cones reveals more than 30 young volcanic cones clustered together atop a series of older lava flows. A visit to the lava tube off Aiken Mine Road begins by climbing down this ladder. Park volunteer Julia Kronk often guides visitors who are eager to explore this geologic wonder.
This particular lava tube is about 50 feet into the longest part of it, and it gets very, very dark and very, very small. At a certain time, the sun will shine into the lava tube, and it looks like it comes from nowhere. I love to see their reactions. It's pretty amazing because their face just lights up, and they can't figure it out at first until you kind of take a little time and realize it's the sun.
Tens of millions of years ago, molten rock welled up beneath the Earth's surface near Sima. After millions of years of weathering, the top of the solidified mass has been exposed and is now known as Sima Dome. Nearly 10 miles across and rising 1,500 feet above the surrounding basins, its sheer size is best appreciated from some distance. However, a trip to Sima Dome allows visitors to explore the largest and densest Joshua tree forest in the world. The former Zysix Mineral Springs and Health Spa now houses the Desert Studies Center. It has become a haven where education, research, and concern for the desert endure. The center's resident manager, biologist Robert Fulton, has been studying this landscape for more than 25 years.
The Mojave Desert, although it's the smallest desert in North America, is the most diverse desert. We have an abundance of species like roadrunners and coyotes and lots of reptiles, snakes and lizards and such. There's just so much to see, so many surprises around each turn in the trail. So the closer you look, the more you get out there and look around the Mojave Desert, the more you're going to discover. It's just a very amazing place.
As late afternoon descends and the brutal heat of the day gradually begins to let up, the only movement visible is particles of sand being blown across the Kelso dunes. An arresting sight, these tranquil dunes rise more than 650 feet above the valley floor. Formed primarily out of fine-grained residual sand and quartz particles, these windswept sentinels of the desert are endlessly shifting and changing. And while the Kelso dunes have been slowly deposited for the past 25,000 years, the footsteps left by human visitors can be erased by the desert winds in a matter of minutes. Hiking along the crest of a dune can trigger a phenomenon known as singing or booming. This song of the dunes is unmistakable. This desert has many seasons. Along with the heat of summer is the cold of winter, a mild spring, and a cool fall. There are also 2 rainy seasons. Only 20 to 30% of Mojave National Preserve's rains fall during summer monsoons. The lion's share come during the winter months. During years when enough rain has fallen, the desert celebrates with a profusion of color as spring wildflowers bloom. From globe mallow to hedgehog cactus to dune's evening primrose, the spring bloom brings a rainbow of color to the Mojave Desert. The rains draw out the desert tortoise, the unofficial mascot of Mojave National Preserve. Much of the tortoise's water intake comes from moisture in wildflowers and other plants it consumes in the spring. But during periods of adequate rainfall, this amazing denizen of the Mojave takes advantage of any pools he can find, especially puddles that form on the roads. Though well adapted to life in the harsh environment of the Mojave Desert, this long-lived reptile nonetheless faces challenges to its continued survival, now and in the future. Ranger Janet McDaniel works to raise park visitors' awareness of tortoises in the highway.
One significant but easily preventable threat to the tortoise is highway mortality. Drivers need to keep an eye out for these guys, especially during rainy weather.
As afternoon gives way to evening, long shadows creep across the landscape. Fading sunlight plays across the sky, creating a kaleidoscope of ever-changing hues and shapes. And as day slips into night, the desert's nocturnal inhabitants begin to stir. Unlike their diurnal neighbors, these animals have unique behaviors and adaptations so that they can take advantage of the night's lower temperatures and the protective cover of darkness. The largest spider in the desert, tarantulas can chase down their prey in total darkness. Black-tailed jackrabbits, alone or in groups, will venture out after nightfall to forage for food. Scorpions are a nocturnal carnivore that stalks small insects. They hide among bushes and beneath rocks, awaiting their prey. And when exposed to ultraviolet light, they give off an eerie glow. To capture the most elusive of these nocturnal creatures, Park Service rangers have set up motion-activated cameras at springs around the preserve. In the desert night, far from the lights of the big cities, more stars can be seen by the naked eye than could be counted in a lifetime. Like candles carried across the heavens, they provide a new perspective on the scale of our universe each time we venture into the desert night. For families like Christopher and Danette Nolan, an overnight stay in Mojave National Preserve provides their children with memories that will last a lifetime.
Right there. And then right next to it is little Oh, no, there it is.
As nighttime fades, a new day dawns in Mojave National Preserve. On this day, visitors will enjoy a multitude of new experiences. Plants and animals will continue to thrive in this sheltered and protected ecological preserve. People will explore and discover exciting new things about themselves and the world around them. And the pulse of the desert will continue, just as it has throughout the ages.